welcome to Kanika's Kitchen. It is fall, my favorite time of year. And while most people tend to think apples when they think fall, it's also a great time of year for pears. Now, Sean's uncle has a pear tree, and we always get blessed with so many pears. Super thankful for them. And one of our favorite ways to preserve this is actually pear sauce, which is very, very similar to applesauce. Same way of cooking it and canning it, and it's very, very similar. But this is just kind of give you, I thought we'd do this video just kind of give you an idea of another way to preserve your pears if you have an abundance of them like we do. We love these for just a bowl of it for a snack or as a side, or even spread on toast for at breakfast. It's really good. Now I've already scrubbed my pears. I don't bother peeling mine. You can, it's fine. But I don't like to peel them. It's a pain in the butt. So I'd rather just start out like this with just a good clean fruit. And we're going to jump on into our next step in the prep work, and that's just cutting them up. This is what we're starting off with. This is 1.5 to 2 5-gallon buckets. It started out 2 5-gallon buckets, but by the time I kind of picked through the ones that were bad, and we ate some fresh, this is about what I got left. I just got a large bowl, some lemon juice. Sorry, I got some apple pie filling on it. You can also use citric acid. This is just what I have on hand. I don't measure it. I just put a little splash in it. All this is for is I'm going to, whenever I cut up my pears, I'm going to put it in the water with the lemon juice, and that's going to keep it from turning brown. If you don't care about your pears turning brown, just cut them up and throw them right in the stock pot. But I'm going to dice mine, put them in the pot, let them set for a little bit, just long enough. I'm just going to let them set while I'm cutting up pears, and then whenever this gets full, we'll transfer them to the stock pot, and then we'll start cooking them down. I'm just slicing my pears, and I'm taking the cores and just setting them aside to give to the rabbits and the animals. These had actually fallen off the tree from a storm the night before, so they're a little beat up. I try to cut out as much of the bruising as possible, but ideally you'll have a nice, firm, not bruised fruit when you're using this. Once I got into the batch, the rest of them looked a lot better. Alright, so we got a decent amount of pears in here. I'm just going to scoop them out, throw them in my crock pot. My stock pot, sorry. Go. And this is just how I like to do mine, because like I said, I like to put a little lemon juice on them to keep them going so brown. But this is just necessary. It's not a necessary step. Go. I'm going to add about a cup of just plain filtered water. No lemon juice in this. And all that is it's going to keep our pears from burning. I'll put it on like medium high. I'm going to cover it up and just kind of let it simmer. And that'll allow my first batch of pears to go ahead and start cooking down. I'm going to go ahead and cut up my remaining pears. And I'll meet back up with you all. And we'll move on to the next step. So I've got our pears in. I've just been cooking them down. And giving them a little stir. If you have a roasting pan, that's ideal, but I don't have one, so you can totally make it work in a big stock pot. You just want to kind of try to get the ones off the bottom onto the top and kind of rotate them, because the ones on the bottom will cook a little bit faster since they're down in the water. I'd say they've probably been cooking about 20-30 minutes or so, but I had mine as I slice them. We're going to put the lid back on and give them a little more time. They're not quite as soft as I'd like. So we'll just give them a few more minutes to cook down. So our pears have cooked down pretty well. Actually got a little too hot. You don't have to boil them. But now that they're cooked down, I'm just going to drain a little bit of this water, a little bit of the juice and liquid out. You can save it if you want to make pear juice or pear jelly out of it. I might do that. But for now, I'm just going to strain it and set it aside. And then we're going to take an immersion blender and blend all this up. If you don't have an immersion blender, you can just dip it into like a regular blender and blend it. I've done that too, and it actually works better, I think, to put it in the blender, but it's a pain in the butt. So we're going to do it the easy way today and just use the immersion blender. So now we've got some chunky pear sauce. We'll run it through the food mill next, and that'll take care of all those chunks. But honestly, I mean, you could in theory just season it and eat it like this. It's fine. It's just a little chunky for our taste, and it's mostly the peels. I've left the peels on my apples before, and they cook down great, and they blend up, and you don't even know they're in there. But the pear skins are a little bit tougher, so I am going to run it through the food mill, and we'll get those all out. Alright, it's actually the next morning. By the time I made dinner and spent a lot of time with the family, it started getting kind of late. I started this project a little bit late. But I just put this, I blended it up, and I just put the lid on the pot and I put it in the fridge overnight, so this is cold now, which might actually make this next step easier. We're going to get back to it though, and we're going to run this through the food mill. My problem though is all of my bowls and stock pots that are big enough to hold this much pear sauce are too big for my food mill to sit on. You see it kind of has little feet on the bottom and just kind of grips them. So what I've got here is I've got this little measuring bowl cup thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to transfer from this stock pot into my food mill, run it through and let this catch it, and then I'm going to pour what's left in this into another big stock pot on my stove so I can reheat all this once I get it all ran through the food mill. And this is just an OXO food mill. I love mine, it's great. Alright, I wound up with 30 cups, so I'm pretty pleased with that. I've got my stove on. We're going to go ahead and start warming it up. And now's the time you can season if you want. You absolutely don't have to. You can can it just like this. The National Center of Food Preservation, I believe that's right. They don't add any lemon juice to their applesauce or their pears. So I'm not going to add any lemon juice to this either. If you go buy a bowl, they'll probably tell you to add lemon juice. They add lemon juice to everything to increase the pH. And that's fine if that's the route you want to take. You just might want to add some more sugar to balance out that lemon juice. And actually, I like to season mine with honey. Last time I did a combination of honey and sugar. I will say, this is a lot more mild in flavor than the applesauce. So it actually doesn't take a whole lot. I'm also going to add a little cinnamon to this batch as well. Since like I said, my last batch I did some with just honey and a little bit of white sugar, and that was good. And also did a little bit with like cloves and cinnamon, and that was good, but the cloves were a little strong in it. I didn't like those. It was still fine, but I'll probably wind up doing more baking with that one, like in my baked oatmeal or like cakes and stuff. So we'll start off. Remember, this is 30 cups, so this should still be starting off pretty slow. And I don't measure, I don't keep up with the measurements or anything. I just eyeball it and we'll taste test. Let's get a little scoop out of my bowl. But now you don't, like I said, you don't have to add anything. You don't have to add any sugar or anything. That's not going to affect how this will be preserved. The acidity of the pears is what will keep this from going bad in the water bath canning itself to kill all the bad stuff. It's good. I made a little more honey. And I just use like the cheaper honey from Sam's Club. I have some local honey and it is far superior, but it's a strong taste. And like I said, this pear sauce tends to take on whatever the flavor, whatever seasoning you put in it pretty well. So I don't want to overpower it with my... I want a little bit more, and then I'm going to get the family's opinion. I've had a lot of honey, actually. But I didn't want to know that this is honey pear sauce. And I may still wind up adding a little bit of white sugar, too. We'll see. So I'll see what the family thinks and what they like. I'm sure the kids will want it sweeter, but trying to balance it out. Maybe not make it somewhat healthy, but still something that they'll want to eat. Alright, I wound up adding about 2 cups of sugar, which I knew they'd want a little bit sweeter, and a little more cinnamon, but I think we're good to go. We're happy with the taste. So now I've got it heated up pretty well. It's almost to a boil. So now I'm just going to fill out my jars to 1 inch of head space. I've already made a mess, so I got it on the side of the pot. I feel like most of y'all are probably familiar with the water bath canning process, so we'll kind of speed this part up. The reason I reheated my pear sauce is because you do want hot jars and hot food going into your hot water bath canner. Otherwise, you might shock your jars and they can burst. Like I said, I'm just filling these up to 1 inch of head space. And now I'm going through and debubbling all of them. And that's just getting all the little bubbles out so it'll seal during the canning process. I wound up with 17 pint jars, so I was pretty happy with that. And I just go through and wipe off the rims with a clean wet paper towel. I just use water, but you can use vinegar on it if you want. Then I put on my lids, and then I'll go back through and I'll put on my rings, and I'll just tighten those to fingertip tight. I've got my stock pot going here for my water bath. Ooh, I've got it cranked up. It's not quite boiling yet, but I'm going to go ahead and put in my jars. I'll probably get them all in. I can't remember how many this will hold. It's not, like I said, it's not boiling yet, so I'm not going to start my processing time just yet. Whenever it comes to a rolling boil, that's whenever I'll start my timer for 25 minutes. And that's based off the National Food Preservation. That's their time for pears based on my altitude. I'll leave the link to that below so you guys can see what I'm referencing. That's their time for pears, so I'm going to do the same for pear sauce. No, I'm not going to get them all in one batch, darn it. It'll be okay. Okay, that looks good for now. Alright, I'm going to put the lid back on. Like I said, once it actually comes to a rolling boil, then I'm going to start my processing time. Alright, it's been a few days. We're down to 8 pints of pear sauce. I think we ate one, and then we gave them to some of our family that lives around us. Good reviews all around. Everybody really enjoyed it, us included. So I'm really happy with this project. You can see on some of them, they've kind of separated down here at the bottom. It's fine. Just shake them up. A little shake before you open it, and it's fine. It's just a little bit of the liquid settling to the bottom. But I totally recommend this. We really enjoyed it. Especially if y'all have a lot of pears, this is a good way to use them up because we eat it just like we do applesauce. If you like this video, go ahead and give me a thumbs up. If you want to see more like it, go ahead and subscribe. And I hope y'all come back and see me. Thanks for watching.